Well, look who it is. A big hello to all of our friends watching Today All Day.
Hope you had a great weekend. Happy Monday, and thank you for spending part of your day with us. This is Today in 30, and you know the drill by now.
All right, we give you a mix of everything you love about today, but we do it in just 30 minutes. So first up, our own Keir Simmons is in Moscow with a worldwide exclusive interview with the Russian leader, Vladimir Putin, ahead of this week's summit with President Biden.
Also ahead, if your family is looking to explore the great outdoors this summer, what better way to do it than in an RV? Doesn't that sound like fun?
Yeah.
We'll give you all the tips you need before you hit the open road.
And Jenna, she's sharing a real personal story. She sat down with one of her grandfather's closest confidants and learned some stories about her family that even surprised her.
Oh, all that plus a lot more. This is Today in 30.
Moving now to our NBC News worldwide exclusive with Vladimir Putin, the Russian president, sitting down with our senior international correspondent Keir Simmons for a rare interview addressing a host of issues that will be on the table with President Biden later this week. Keir joins us now from Moscow live. Hey, Keir, good morning.
Hey, Hoda, good morning to you. President Putin is here in Moscow preparing to fly to Geneva for that high-stakes meeting with President Biden. We sat down with him inside the walls of the Kremlin to press him on key issues like human rights and cyber attacks.
As he prepares to face off with Vladimir Putin this week, President Biden saying he agrees with what Russia's leader told us about relations with the U.S.
I think he's right. It's a low point.
Top of the agenda for their high-stakes summit, cyber warfare. Recent attacks on U.S. infrastructure, some linked to Russian-based criminals, have raised concerns over a new Cold War. Putin tells NBC News Russia is not to blame.
Mr. President, are you waging a cyber war against America?
Where is the evidence? Where is proof? It's becoming farcical. We know it well. We have been accused of all kinds of things, election interference, cyber attacks, and so on and so forth. And not one time did they bother to produce any kind of evidence or proof, just unfounded accusations.
The U.S. intelligence community has produced evidence of Russian hackers targeting the federal government and meddling in U.S. elections. And this year, the U.S. has seen multiple criminal ransomware attacks extorting millions of dollars.
Russian-speaking criminals, is the allegation, are targeting the American way of life: food, gas, water, hospitals, transport. Why would you let Russian-speaking criminals disrupt your diplomacy?
You know, the simplest thing to do would be for us to sit down calmly and agree on joint work in cyberspace. We are willing to engage with international participants, including the United States. You are the ones who have refused to engage in joint work.
The Biden administration has been insisting Russia should not harbor cyber criminals. The Trump administration called Russia's offers to talk disingenuous. The Kremlin has been accused of violating existing international cyber agreements. Now the Russian leader admitting to NBC News he is concerned that the US can target Russia.
What people can be afraid of in America, the very same thing can be a danger to us. US is a high-tech country. NATO has declared cyberspace an area of combat. That means they are planning something. They are preparing something. So obviously, this cannot but worry us.
Do you fear that American intelligence is deep inside Russian systems and has the ability to do you a lot of damage?
I'm not afraid, but I bear in mind that it is a possibility.
When President Biden sits down with President Putin, he's expected to raise the cases of two Americans who the State Department say are unfairly convicted in Russia.
Paul Whelan and Trevor Reed. They are two former Marines. Trevor Reed is suffering from COVID in prison. Why don't you release them ahead of the summit? Wouldn't that show goodwill?
I know that we have certain U.S. citizens who are in prison, have been convicted, but if one considers the number of Russian Federation citizens who are in U.S. prisons, then these numbers don't even compare.
And on the prisoner swap question? Is that something that you would consider?
Yes, of course.
Russia has proposed a prisoner swap before. Secretary of State Blinken saying the Americans are being held as political pawns. President Putin insists he can work with Biden on complicated issues and build a stable and predictable relationship.
Let us sit down together, talk, look for compromise solutions that are acceptable for all the parties. That is how stability is achieved.
Well, President Biden says, one time when you met, you were inches away from each other. And he said to you, I'm looking in your eyes and I can't see a soul. And you said, we understand each other. Do you remember that exchange?
But I do not remember this particular part of our conversations, to be honest with you. He probably has a good memory.
But the Kremlin has been cracking down on political opponents like Alexei Navalny, a Putin critic who was poisoned and is now in prison. President Biden has vowed to raise Navalny's case when they meet.
A Russian court has just, a Russian court has just outlawed organizations connected to Mr. Navalny. Literally every non-systematic opposition figure is facing criminal charges. Mr. President, it's as if dissent is simply not tolerated in Russia anymore.
Well, you are presenting it as dissent and intolerance towards dissent in Russia. We view it completely differently.
Will you commit that you will personally ensure that Alexei Navalny will leave prison alive?
I proceed from the premise that the person that you have mentioned, the same kind of measures will apply, not in any way worse than to anybody else who happens to be in prison.
His name is Alexei Navalny. People will note that you
I don't
weren't
care.
prepared to say
I don't
that
care.
he would leave prison alive.
For now, both sides are downplaying how much progress can be achieved at this week's summit.
And after the interview, guys, President Putin continued the conversation with me off camera, leaning in, keeping eye contact, urging me to believe him. For example, that he believes that in the West they are funding opposition groups here in Moscow now. And maybe that was the former KGB officer trying to use his powers of persuasion. Or maybe President Putin is not just a threat, but feels threatened. Understanding who President Putin is will be crucial for President Biden when he sits down with him this week, guys.
Fascinating interview, Keir Simmons, for us. Thank you.
In depth today and this morning, the latest on what has unfortunately become a dangerous trend in the skies. More reports of unruly, even violent passenger behavior on board planes.
And this all comes as the summer travel season is really ramping up.
That's right. NBC's Tom Costello covers aviation for us. Tom, good morning.
Hey, guys, good morning. So on Friday, the TSA reports the most number of passengers yet post-pandemic, 2 million. And with that surge in passengers, the surge in bad behavior we've been reporting on for weeks. The most recent case, a flight from L.A. to Atlanta. A flight attendant had to be pinned down, off-duty flight attendant. The flight diverted to Oklahoma City. This morning, yet another disturbing video showing yet another scare in the air. Passengers on board a Delta flight from L.A. to Atlanta, pinning a man down. After the airline says an off-duty Delta flight attendant tried to take control of the plane's PA system.
The next thing I knew, there were people rushing up to the front, and he started shoving people, and it was this outrageous fight.
The captain took to the intercom asking passengers to help.
We'd like all strong males to the front of the aircraft to handle the problem passenger.
Air traffic control then diverted the flight to Oklahoma City Friday night, where police took the passenger into custody. It's just the latest incident involving what the FAA says is a surge in bad behavior in the skies. Earlier this month, another Delta passenger was arrested after reportedly attempting to breach the cockpit. And on this Southwest flight from Sacramento to San Diego in late May, a passenger punched a flight attendant, causing her to lose 2 teeth.
Passengers are behaving belligerently. They are becoming aggressive, hostile. They are verbally abusive, and oftentimes they've been violent.
The FAA now says it has nearly 3,000 reports of unruly passenger behavior already this year, 2,100 of those involving passengers who are refusing to comply with the FAA mask mandate.
The FAA has a zero-tolerance policy for people who behave badly on airplanes.
This morning, the agency is taking action with a new round of fines. A passenger fined $15,500 for ignoring at least 10 requests from the crew to wear a mask properly and drinking alcohol not served by the airline. A New York to Cancun passenger fined $10,500 for being so disruptive when asked to wear a mask. The flight was diverted to Fort Lauderdale.
If you break these rules, put others at risk, and impact their travel plans, we'll prosecute to the fullest extent of the law.
Yeah, that can mean jail time. It can also mean being banned for life by the airline in which somebody is acting badly. And by the way, the mask mandate is in effect until mid-September. Keep in mind, half the population is vaccinated, but half isn't, including children under the age of 12 for the most part. And that is why the FAA is keeping that mask mandate in place and asking people, please comply in airports and also on board planes. Guys, back to you.
Let's get to our booth, shall we? Here we go. All right, a little boy in Seattle was so proud of his big sister, he decided to hold a ceremony when she graduated from pre-K.
Woo! Good London!
Sister London walking up the stairs at her local library. That's her younger brother, Roman. He's got the diploma. And even though it was a tough year of virtual schooling, London even managed to learn a second language. Wow. So hats off to the teacher, and what a great little brother. How cute is that?
Cute.
Sweet.
And have the cap and gown and everything. I love that.
Let's turn to our Consumer Confidential. Time to bring on our pal, NBC News.
Come on down.
Correspondent Vicky Wynn.
Good morning.
This is a really, thank you, Gerard, a really timely story because of the number of folks who want to get outside. They want to explore the great idea outdoors. And this is at an all-time high right now, especially if you're trying to jump into an RV.
Oh my gosh, RVs are so popular this summer. Good morning. If you are buying or renting, RVs are going to be hard to find. The RV Industry Association says sales inventory is at a historic low, and the number of Americans who want to hit the open road is record-breaking. So how do you get in on the fun? From finding an RV to landing a campsite, I have the insider tips to help you make some new memories this summer. Soaking in nature, forging new family memories, the pandemic's silver lining, giving millions of Americans time to drive into the great outdoors. 56 million people plan on taking an RV vacation this summer. That's more than double the typical summer average of 25 million.
RVs are being bought as soon as they're hitting the lots.
New projections show shipments of at least 576,000 new RVs by the end of 2021, a nearly 34% increase over 2020. And in a recent poll of new owners, surprisingly, RVers didn't hit the road because of the pandemic.
It's discovering, getting into the great outdoors. It's using an RV as a base camp for other types of outdoor recreation. And of course, spending time with friends and family.
With high demand in the rental market as well, how do you start an RV vacation? I'm here at Camp Taylor Campground in Western New Jersey, and we found an RV and a campsite thanks to Janine Pettit, founder of Girl Camper. Hi, how are you?
Vicki, thank you for coming to the beautiful Garden State.
Yes, so tell us, how can Girl Camper help people start and plan their RV vacation this summer?
We help you find all the resources on how to get the trailer that's right for you, how to find the campground that's right for you. We just provide all of that for you so you can get a step into this lifestyle.
It starts with finding an RV, which we did with Janine's help, and I was in for a real surprise. Oh my gosh, this is my style of camping. This is amazing.
This is glamping. This is what we do.
I love it. You got the fire, an outdoor rug. This is so fancy.
Let me show you the inside.
This looks amazing.
Isn't this beautiful?
Yes, it's so luxurious in here.
A kitchen, a convection microwave, a double stainless steel sink. We've got sleeping for two up here.
I see that.
The dinette folds down and becomes two more, and there's a big queen size bed and full bath in the back.
So this is nicer than some New York City apartments, I have to say. To rent an RV, Janine says try Outdoorsy, an Airbnb for RVs. Another option, RV Share, which allows you to rent directly from RV owners across the U.S. Don't forget the large rental companies like Cruise America and El Monte. When it comes to cost, RVs start at $55 per day for a small towable camper that sleeps 4. And they can go all the way up to $1,500 a day for one of these Rockstar buses that can sleep 8. How do you score an amazing campsite like this?
With perseverance, Vicki. Keep calling that campground because people cancel. Life happens. There's lots of cancellations at the last minute. The other thing is once your feet are wet and you become a little more savvy, then you're going to book this thing 6 months in advance.
Other options, Harvest Host allows you to camp at a winery, brewery, or even a private farm for $99 a year. No camping fees, but you can only stay one night at a time. And hipcamp.com will direct you to campsites on everything from public parks to private farms, starting at $20 a day. And one final thing to consider, do you want to tow a travel trailer like this? The upside is once you get to your campsite, you still have a car that you can get out, be mobile, and go sightseeing with. In a mobile home, you might not be as mobile once you're hooked up to the campsite and you don't have a little car to tow around. The upside is, once you get out on the open road, you can take the whole crew with you. What do you think it is about nature and the great outdoors that's welcoming so many people back out?
I think it's so healing. And it's been a stressful year for a lot of people. We have no Wi-Fi here. We're not able to stream anything. We're not downloading email. It forces you into a situation in which you just need to chill out.
Cheers to camping. Hello to all of you watching Today in 30 on Today All Day. I'm Vicki Wynn. You just saw my piece on RVing and finding a campsite, glamping. Man, that was such a fun story to do. Some extra tips for you if you are planning to go camping this summer at a national park. Plan ahead, make a reservation whenever possible. There will be some long lines because those parks are going to be popular. Something else to consider, bring your own surge protector to plug in between your RV and the campsite. And don't forget the bug spray so you can keep the critters away and everyone can have a fantastic time. After doing that story, I can't wait to get my camp on. I'll see you soon.
Okay, Jenna, you just came off of your segment. We're going upstairs to film the 10.
Yes, well, okay, I talked with Jean Becker, who I've known since I was a little girl, so I expected to not cry because I've heard all these stories before, but we did. Lots of tears, lots of Kleenex.
But we always should have tear. That's why we love you.
All right, there's a new book out now by Jean Becker. It's called The Man I Knew. And Jenna, it's kind of personal to you. It's all about your grandfather.
Yeah, it sure is. And Jean worked closely with both of my grandparents for a number of years. First as deputy press secretary for my grandmother when she was first lady, and then moved on to work as my grandfather's chief of staff for nearly 25 years. Jean held a very special place in my Gampy's heart, and I got to sit down with her and started by asking her about that tough year when my grandfather left the White House.
For the first couple of months after he lost the election, he was much quieter than usual.
Jean Becker became chief of staff for my grandfather, George Herbert Walker Bush, in 1994, shortly after he left the White House.
And he sort of took his time to figure out what he wanted the next chapter in his life to be. He did surprise your grandmother with a cruise on what I call the Love Boat. Can you imagine being on a princess cruise and run into George and Barbara Bush?
Is it truly saw a commercial?
And he booked it without telling her. He surprised her, which is, I hope she remembered to pack a swimsuit.
I'd never seen it before, but he wrote this list of things that can help somebody get over losing the presidency of the United States, which also is kind of a guide to life, to anybody that's had heartbreak or failure.
Number one, get out of Dodge fast. Your history on that cold January day, so be pleasant about it. Smile a lot. Always count your blessings. And here's my favorite, number 10, hug your grandkids.
It makes me want to cry already. What was it about him that you most admired?
He knew how to handle the speed bumps in life. And as you know, he had a lot. He was shot down during World War II. They lost their daughter Robin to leukemia. He lost the election. He was so resilient. He knew how to pick himself up, dust himself off, and move on, and do great things.
In her new book, The Man I Knew, Jean gives us a glimpse into the man beyond the presidency, a devoted husband, a proud father, and a loving Gampy.
He sent this email to all of you, and I just love it. I'm a very happy Gampy. My legs don't bend too well. As you know, I had to give up fly fishing off the rocks, but there is plenty left to do, plenty of wonderful things. I think of all of you an awful lot. I just wonder how each of you is doing in life, in college, in school. If you need me, I am here for you because I love you very much. This comes from your devoted Gampy.
Of course, you love traveling to some of the incredible places that you got to go, but one of your favorite places to go with Gampy was to the grocery store and to Sam's Club. Why is that so?
Because it was surreal. People were just stunned. They would get a flatbed pulley cart and walk around the store. Your grandfather bought a huge thing of Cheetos at least a couple times a month. I'm telling you, Jenna, there's still Cheetos here in Houston somewhere. grandfather bought.
I just love that. The other thing that it didn't surprise me, but I thought of Gampy this way, but I loved hearing it from you, was that he was such an idea person.
Your grandfather would come in the office about 7 o'clock every morning, and he would sit down at my desk and say, Jean, I have an idea. And sometimes it would be something as simple as getting pizza, but then it would be, I think I'm going to start parachuting. And I will tell you, Jenna, one of my great regrets of being your grandfather's chief of staff, I wish I wore a helmet cam on my head when I would go back to the Secret Service and say, good morning, how are you all today? Oh yeah, President Bush is going to start parachuting. Or we're going to go back to Chichijima in the middle of the South Pacific and there's no airport there. And the looks on their faces.
One thing that you got to witness at Sam's Club and everywhere, all over the world, was my grandparents' relationship. And 73 years of marriage.
Your grandmother used to say in her speeches and to young people that for a marriage to work, each partner had to give 55%.
She told me 75, but I think that was just particularly for me. And Henry to work.
The best story happened about a week before your grandmother died. Your grandfather was in the hospital. Your grandmother was on her way back to the hospital by ambulance. He said, well, I want to go see her. And Jenna, he looked awful. I tried to fix his hair, but there was nothing I could do with it. It was standing straight up like this. And he had on an oxygen mask. He had on a hospital gown. And he just sat there holding her hand. It was so sweet. And all of a sudden, your grandmother opened her eyes and looked at him and said, my God, George, you are devastatingly good looking. And then she closed her eyes again and went back to wherever she was.
Jean spent nearly a quarter of a century as one of my grandfather's most trusted confidants. And since his death in November 2018, she's worked passionately to share his legacy.
During that funeral week, people just couldn't quit talking about him enough and what a great man he was and everything he accomplished. You know, he was very modest, but I'm thrilled that he lived to see history understood him. History finally got his heart and soul.
Okay. That is so incredibly poignant. And I like the story she told about how she was holding his hand at the very end.
Yeah, the last words that he ever said to her, she coughed, and he was holding her hands, and he said, Jean, are you okay? And those were the last words, and she thinks it was a double meaning. Right. You know, are you okay?
With me,
but
yeah,
also,
me
are
going.
you going to be okay?
Oh.
And the last words he ever said were to my dad, and they were, I love you. So Jean's book, The Man I Knew, is out now. His birthday was on Saturday, and so I love that I got to speak with her and celebrate him, and you can check it out now at today.com/shop.
Hoda, what did you feel watching that?
I mean, I felt like I've heard Jenna talk about her grandfather, but there was something about that interviewing Jean in such a different way. I mean, that was so...
I was surprised. Like, I had no idea he booked a cruise. How about taking my grandmother? How hilarious is that? She was mad, too. She didn't want to be in public in a bathing suit.
And I love the whole Sam's Club and the whole with the flatbed.
Cheetos.
Cheetos, now again. All right, guys, be sure to join us tomorrow on Today for a milestone we've been looking forward to. Tina Fey, right here in our studio.
Actual live guest.
Our first one, right?
Yeah, since the pandemic. Yeah. Plus, we're going to have a special and really personal conversation ahead of Father's Day with the dads of today.
Have a great Monday. We'll see you tomorrow right here on Today.
Hey, Hey, thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Find your favorite recipes, celebrity interviews, uplifting stories, shop our favorite deals, and so much more with the Today app. Download it now.